Well, hi and welcome to my office. It is 40 degrees. I am sweating like mad, but for the purpose of this video, I'm standing out in this full sun so we can test out a new firmware. But with this out of the blue firmware update for the XF400, it's certainly something of interest to me because they've added 4 color profiles. So the normal way I use the XF400 is high dynamic range mode and grade later in post. It has a standard mode, but it has no high dynamic range at all. My skin just blows out. It's not really any good. But at least with the high dynamic range mode that they gave us in the first place, it works really well. 12 stops, probably in this full sunlight here that's a little harsh. It's fairly high in the sky, the sun. I may not be completely helped out by the high dynamic range, which I've loved, and it's great in morning and afternoon light. Anyway, these new profiles that they've given us, I'm going to test them out in the real world. So it's not going to be a very technical review. It's simply going to be out in the real world testing, and then I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not going to do what other people do with just test shots and not verbally tell you anything. They just put side-by-side comparisons. They ship me and they give you no information at all because YouTube compression is so bad that we can't really tell most of the time. So I am going to give you my opinion, my honest opinion on whether I like them or not. That said, what have they given us? Well, they've given us 4 new color profiles and 2 Rec 709 profiles that we can muck around with, so we can customize it to our own style, if you like. I've got no information from Canon. I've asked for it. They've given me nothing, and as usual with a firmware update, it's very vague what they tell you. I haven't tested anything. You're going to see it before me. All right? So with that done, let's get started. We have, oh, where's my piece of paper so I can remember properly? But there's the first one is natural, Rec 709, just a normal Canon Rec 709 profile. CP2 is wide dynamic range. CP3 is Canon's Log 3 profile. And then number 4 is the EOS standard. 5 and 6 are just ones that you can muck around with Rec 709 already on them. Rightio, so as soon as how we're in wide dynamic range already, let me change the camera over to the high dynamic range mode with Rec 709 applied. So this is the new high dynamic range mode, Rec 709. What is it like? I can't see the monitor, so I got no idea. It's all right, so you've had a look at it now, so let's go side by side with the old version. And as I'm going along speaking to the camera, probably about now, I'll put my own profile on and we can see the differences between the two. Now I've hit a bit of a roadblock with these LUTs. I can get plenty of them to download, there's no problems with that. But the problem that I have is an old version of Premiere Pro, it's CS6, that doesn't have the program to be able to load LUTs onto. But the solution was LUT Buddy, and that was a third party from Blackmagic, I think. But in May this year, that was disbanded because it was so old. They've taken it off their website, but it was available up until May. Now, even if I could find it somewhere, the likelihood of it working with Windows 10 apparently is pretty remote. So that's gone now, being able to work with the proper LUTs for this. I'm not going down the road of hiring the new Premiere Pro just to have LUTs. It doesn't work in with my cost of living. I don't make money off video or photographs at the minute, so it's not justifiable at all. And getting DaVinci Resolve, I'm not doing that because that's another program I'd have to learn and I don't want to. So I'm happy with what I've got. I'm going to work with what I've got. Now I've been putting my own color grade, my own profile that I made in Premiere Pro for my wide angled, for my wide dynamic range clips that I have. And I get them pretty good. I reckon they look really good. So what I've done is I've dropped it onto the new version of the wide dynamic range mode. So right, enough waffling now. I've explained myself. So we're continuing on here. I'm color grading myself and working things out as I go along. But they're both exactly the same. They have the same Kelvin temperature. I always shoot in Kelvin. I don't do white balance on site. I find in the forest, for a forest environment, a Kelvin temperature of 5,200, perfect, and I'll leave it on. So all my clips are exactly the same white balance, no matter what, whether it's a sunny day or whether it's a dull day. It's all even and it looks perfect. So enough carrying on. Let's have a look at these comparison with the wide dynamic range mode that I'm most interested in, then we'll move on. Now with this side-by-side comparison, it is quite obvious that there is difference in skin tone with this newer version. It's a lot deeper and richer colour. So it's more on the warmer orange side, where the old version is just a bit more on that pinker side. What else is quite noticeable is that the new version of wide dynamic range mode already has sharpening added. And if we look at this tree here, it's quite sharp. Actually, it looks a little over sharp to my eyes. And these trees in the background here are quite sharp and in focus as well. Where if we look at the old version, it's more pleasing to the eye for me. We have a focus drop off. So you can see this tree here, focusing's just starting to drop off. Now I add to my wide dynamic range mode, the old version, a sharpening value of 10. Works perfectly. You don't want any more than that, you don't want any less than that. 10 works beautifully. But I have to keep practicing, keep mucking around until I'm really satisfied which one I want to work with when I'm filming myself or when I'm filming animals. Wide dynamic range, Rec 709. Normal high dynamic range mode. Wide dynamic range mode 709. Standard wide dynamic range. So now we have the comparison side by side. A much warmer tone on the left with the new version and the old version, just that slightly bit more cooler. So these clean white flowers just have a slight tinge of orange with the new version. Old version, a lot cleaner, whiter looking flowers. Side by side, you can see just a slight difference, especially in the background. So this is the EOS Standard. And what's it like? What do you think? I have no idea, but I'll be finding out very soon. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to bring in the original standard baked in look that doesn't have high dynamic range. I don't know what this one's like. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty much the same. That was already baked in, had sharpening added, colour added and contrast, all that sort of stuff. So it's a good profile. I've enjoyed it in the shade. can't have any bright objects around, like reflective surfaces, like I've got all the way around me here, leaves and stuff like that. You have to be in the shade for it to work properly, and this will be pretty much the same. I'm guessing that I may have blown out skin. It might not look very good. So definitely, probably for these two, we have to stay in the shade. And moving on to the log 3. This is where we're going to get a huge dynamic range shift, I'm sure. From what I'm seeing from this clip that I've taken in that bright sun, my skin looks much richer, much deeper, all over. So on the inside of my hands aren't going to be as tanned as on the top, but they still look really nice. Nice even skin tones throughout. Now once we get in to be able to grade this, it's going to have rich colours, rich blacks, which I'm sure we'll be able to pull out more detail if we want them. We're only 8-bit, so we can't do a hell of a lot, but I'm sure it's still going to be probably a lot richer colours than the new version of Wide Dynamic Range Mode and the old version. Now I have played around and I've come up with my own colour profile for this. So I've got it looking sort of alright. I'm not happy yet, but I'm getting there. I just keep playing and hopefully I can work it out, get it to look really nice. Anyway, so let's have a look at my colour grading. Well, here we are in log 3 with all the sweat dripping down my face. I've got no idea. I still can't see the screen, whether or not my skin is blowing out, but yeah, it's probably not a fair test really with me being out in this harsh sun. But what we'll do later on is we'll film some wildlife, things going on, flowers and stuff like that, so we can really test them out in the proper conditions that they should be used in. But anyway, this is log 3, natural, and yeah, can't wait to see what it looks like on my computer. So it's not perfect, it's a little better. We get rid of that mask look on it. It's almost gone. It's still very dark in the background, but I'm going to keep playing with it. So we're going to have a look at normal 709, pairing the EOS standard with that and see how that works out as well. See what the differences would be and which one would be more preferable for me to film wildlife with if I'm in the shade. EOS standard. Normal 709. EOS standard. Normal 709. Log 3 filtered light. I'm filming in log 3 at the minute and we're finishing up this video. I've done tons of testing and I'm getting a bit sick of it actually. So my opinion on all of them together is they've left me confused. I don't know what to use. I am all about natural colours. I want it to be as realistic and a proper representation of what I see. So having looks put on and all that sort of stuff doesn't really interest me. Even filming myself, I want natural colours everything looking natural. So there you go. Now, I didn't have the proper LUTs, so I can't really see and get a better, understanding of what they look like. I'm not a professional at all with colour grading. I have a little bit of an understanding, and I get things to look the way I want, and then I make my own preset if I'm going to be consistently using that camera or whatever. That's the way I work. Dropping on every time, maybe slight adjustments for brightening or something. So for those of you that can have LUTs on, you're probably looking at me through this video and going, oh man, you idiot. And for those that are in the same situation as me, there is hope. You can use these, that's for sure, without too much fuss getting natural looking colours. All right, waffling on, let's have a look at the side-by-side comparisons and give you my opinion. First off with the wide dynamic range mode. New one against the old one. Well, for filming myself, speaking to the camera, I might lean towards the newer version because someone's after me. It does have warmer tones, darker tones on my skin, but that's pretty well much it. Now for filming wildlife, would I prefer that over the old version? Probably not. It means I have to tone down that warmth. I much prefer the old version. It gives me realistic colour that's there. Just using Kelvin temperature of 5200, that gives me the bark textures and everything looking identical to what they are. All right, push those two aside. Well, what about the original standard that has a baked in look, so everything's done for you? It's a nice, easy, lazy way. You don't have to do anything in post if you're in the shade. And I do use it maybe 10% of my time out here. It does look really nice, and I don't worry about editing. Now if we pit that against the new EOS version, there's not really much there for me to drag over to that. So the EOS standard doesn't really excite me. Now what about the EOS standard against the new normal BT709? I'll actually prefer that over the EOS version for one reason. Now it has got a warmer tone, the wide dynamic range mode, the new one. We can change that in post if we want. But what I like about it is it has more detail in the shadow areas. They're not as dark against the EOS version where they are dark and there is less detail. Now log 3, my opinion on that. Yes, it has got slightly darker skin tone for filming myself than the new wide dynamic range mode, but it's juggling. It does have richer, deeper colours which I have to tone down to get them to look a little bit more natural. So it's a bit of a waste for me, I think, log 3. Filming in the shadows, I'm finding that it's just the way that they've done, the knee and master pedestal and all that in it, that it's a lot darker to start with. So even though I've done some comparisons with the others and they're all done in the same lighting conditions, I've had to brighten that up a hell of a lot. And the camera's actually flicking, saying that there's not enough light coming in. So it does make a difference to filming in the forest. But you know what? I think I'm on the fence, keep playing, mucking around, but at the minute, nothing excites me. So there you go. That is my opinion on all this. And I think in the end, what I'd have really have preferred is that Canon gave us a better Kodak. H.264 with 10-bit 422, I would have preferred that. But hey, that's me. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, got something out of it, especially if you're in my situation where you haven't got provisions to have LUTs. So yeah, but for those of you that haven't subscribed to my channel, you'd like to, click on my pretty little face just down in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, hit the little bell, you'll get notification whenever I do anything else. And if you want to go and have a look at all the mad and crazy things I've been doing in the past, click on my icon right here at the end of this video. It'll take you to my channel. I talk about photographing, filming in a forest environment, give you some tips there. Go on adventures and I take you with me. I also do little things like this every now and then, especially if I buy a camera or camera accessories, do a review on it and give you my honest opinion on it. Someone really wants me, so I better go. Now just remember, if you don't do, you don't get. So get out there and start photographing and filming wildlife if you possibly can in this horrible environment that we're in with covert. And also, have a happy new year, and I'll catch you in 2021. Bye.